All right, hello folks. Welcome to today's stream. It's been a while since I've streamed, so I'm hoping to get back on the streaming wagon, as it were. Today is going to be a bit different from normal stream. You've probably seen me do some sponsored streams before, so today is another one, a company called FusionAuth. And while I've sort of looked at it a little bit, this is me sort of seeing how it works and trying to integrate it with a couple of my applications. Hey there, Tramstars, welcome. And we've got one of the folks from FusionAuth, developer advocate, Dan FusionAuth is his name, so he's here. So, as I mentioned, my plan is to basically take some Spring Boot apps, and as you can probably guess by their name, it's about auth. So let me start by sort of introducing the applications. Let me switch over to this screen. Nope, not that one. Let's go for this one. Here we go. Let's push the right button this time. There we are. So this, I just realized, so I'm laughing because like, I have renamed the application. I finally, after far too long, renamed it. So it used to be called MobReg because it's a registration system for basically mob programming sessions that I run. But I renamed it, if not mentally in the code and elsewhere, as Ensembler, except I almost never see this page because I'm usually already logged in. And so usually I go directly to the URL and I'm already logged in. So it's rare that I actually see my own homepage. So I should probably fix that. Right now, the application, because it's, let's say, loosely integrated with GitHub, I decided to, when I designed the application, to use GitHub as my auth because I didn't, at the time, really need anything general. So you can either sign in with GitHub or register with GitHub, and this uses basically OAuth to do the login work. So one thing that I continually say, if you've ever watched me on the stream, like, I see so many application tutorials for Spring Boot and security, and like they're starting off with, let me, use the in-memory version of the authentication. I'm like, why bother? Like, just go directly to use somebody else for authentication. Whether it's a GitHub, or Google or Twitter, or something like the ones you might already be familiar with, or FusionAuth. Like, don't do authents by yourself. Like, I still see that, and I'm like, I guess it's useful. There's aspects that are useful to learn, right? So there's the stuff where you're basically you're doing the security config, which, by the way, sort of a separate note, the web security configure adapter, right? What a name, right? Has actually been deprecated in recent releases of Spring Boot. Ensembler is still on 2.6.8. I eventually need to upgrade it to 2.7. What are we at? 2.7.3. So they deprecated this because it's really annoying to have to do these ands to connect sort of different pieces together. So they basically made it more sort of componentized. And from what I've seen, there's a video from Dan Vega that he just put up on YouTube that goes through this. And it's not much different, but it's nicer. Yeah, what version am I on? What's my palm say? I think I'm on 2.6.8. Yeah, so I need to get off 2.6.8 pretty. Not like it's urgent, but I like to keep stuff generally up to date. You can tell how long it's been since I've worked on this on stream. It's been a while. One thing, again, sort of side note, since we're going to be talking about security, use MVC matchers. If you're using Spring MVC, use MVC matchers. I actually wrote Dan a comment on his video saying, shouldn't you be using MVC matchers? Because he was using ant matchers. And the reason why is if you're using Spring MVC, you want sort of the matching logic. Like, how does it match against, for example, invite? An MVC matcher can match against /invite or /invite/ or /invite.html. That will all go to the same place. Ant matchers don't do that. So, in fact, there's a CVE out that basically says use MVC matchers. So again, like I see a lot of tutorials that basically like, I'm not going to go on a rant about tutorials, but there's sort of this, everybody copying each other and not really thinking about what they're doing in terms of what's the most modern way to do things. And so, yeah. So is it /invite ***? Well, there's the /user/***, which is basically anything that's underneath that. Right. So it's a path wildcard. I guess that you could think of it that way. I probably wouldn't, if I was going to do that, I'd use a single star because the double star indicates a path, right? Hierarchy wildcard as opposed to a string wildcard. Although that's probably not true either, because if you had invites plural, that probably wouldn't match. So I guess what I'm saying is no. But anyway, so when I first set this up, I set up the OAuth 2 login to basically delegate all of the login stuff to GitHub. And I currently have an invite system, which I need to, at some point, need to upgrade because right now it's not at all, like this application is TDD hexagonal, and the invite part I wrote really quickly directly to database stuff, and I need to sort of rewrite it. But it's one of those like, well, it works, so, you know, hasn't been urgent. So the invite system, one of the things it does is basically I can link when somebody wants to sign up for the ensemble, which I'll show in a second, I need to start somewhere. So one of the things I don't have is a system where somebody who just has a GitHub username can just authenticate and become a member. You can actually authenticate, so you can basically say sign in with GitHub, and if you sign in with one that is not recognized by the system, then you won't see very much. So this application has basically, I guess you'd say, 3 levels of authorization, right? So authentication is who are you and are you who you say you are? And authorization is, okay, now that I know who you are, what can you do? So the 3 levels of authorization are, you logged in through GitHub, but I never heard from you. I don't know who you are. So you're just a plain old user, and you pretty much have access to nothing. You're a member, which means I've added you to the system explicitly, which means you can join one of the ensembles. And then there's me, the admin. So let me actually go to admin dashboard. So this is the admin screen. So I get to see both admin views and member views up here. I'm going to add a few ensembles just so we can see what the app is all about. This is going to be we'll skip the Zoom link. And we'll just say, hey, that's today. Or 1 p.m. That's, yeah. So what it did, besides just, you know, writing some records to a database, it actually went out and fetched information. Well, it actually initiated creation of a Zoom meeting from Zoom using their API. And that's something else I need to fix, talk about auth. Like, They've deprecated using certain kinds of apps that use JWTs. I know people pronounce those JOTs, but that doesn't work for me. And so it goes and I have to fix that, because now they want you to be server to server OAuth. And I swear, like, my head spins with all this stuff, just because I don't do it all the time. So fetch basically requests a meeting to be created, and one gets created, and then it creates the event. So from the members' standpoint, what they see is just, hey, there's an event, and they can either accept or decline. So if I accept, then I would see the Zoom link, and otherwise I can add it to my calendar. So the Zoom link was automatically created. I can also decline if I decide, I can't go. So Dan FusionAuth says RFC 7519. Oh, the suggested pronunciation of JWT is the same as the English word. What? As what English word? That would be jute. Sorry, there's no vowels in there. And then there's the James Webb Space Telescope. And so every time I see those 4 letters, the JWST, I'm always thinking of wait, what? Yeah, I know that's not what they say. I don't pronounce it jot. I just don't say it very much. All right. So that's basically what the application does. This is from the member's standpoint. So if I'm a member, okay, yeah. Copy paste in chat is sometimes hard. And from an admin, I have different permissions. So you can see that the URL, right? So everything under admin, I need to have admin roles. And so the way I have this structured then, of course, is all this stuff. And I wish I could hide some of these inlay hints, because, like, I don't need these inlay hints. Sometimes you want them, but sometimes I'm like, I really don't care about some of these. Anyway, so you can see here that there's permit all for / and for error, role user for the user one and to access the invite. Anything under admin needs role admin. And if you want to see member, the member stuff, which is basically this page, this is under member. You can also edit your profile. That's also under member, so you have access to that. But you'll notice that there is user. And this is what you see if you've been authenticated. Like, okay, GitHub says this is who you are, but I don't know, my system doesn't know who you are. You basically see this. And right, as you can see, it's a placeholder for onboarding that I haven't had the need to implement yet. So. But there are those levels. The other thing is those who authenticated, if they did get an invite, they would go to a link that is invite and it has a token that gets generated. And then I know who they are. I know that they've gotten it. And then then it basically upgrades them to role member. So I'm storing this in basically this information in a database. So let's go look at our database. Let's refresh. Oh, the other thing I need to do is, you may have heard Heroku is stopping their free plan. I have a couple of projects that I pay for, but Ensembler actually gets used like total of maybe an hour a week at most. So I haven't used their pay plan, but I'm probably going to have to either decide to upgrade or more likely move to something like Railway. So if we look at a database, see a bunch of tables. The most interesting table is the member table. Yeah, and I totally understand why they would do that. I mean, I would, it's always interesting to see companies, new companies and old companies, when they offer something where there's a potential for some kind of compute. right? The obvious ones are something like a Heroku, but then you have something like Replit, which allows you to run applications in a sandbox. Then you have things like build systems, which clearly have to run code in order to build your thing. And any of those people are just going to abuse. And Salesforce, yeah, I would totally understand they don't want to really compete in that market. It's too bad, but it is what it is. So the information, basically I store the roles for each, yeah, it's all crypto's fault. And I guess spam and phishing and stuff like that. So what it does is when I authenticate, right, it goes to GitHub. We didn't see a login page because I'm already logged in the browser, so that information is saved. So basically, it goes to ask GitHub, who is this person who's accessing the system? It returns Ted Young because that's my GitHub username. And then it goes to the database and says, well, what roles do they have? And loads that information in. This is actually in the code. We look at member DBO, which is the database object. It's actually a set of strings, but I happen to store it as a single column because it's just a set of strings, comma separated. Why not? Why have separate tables? So that's how it figures out what my authorization is. All right, so that was a very long preamble to what the application does, what it needs from both authentication and authorization. And so let's take a look at FusionAuth. So FusionAuth is apparently, so there's another acronym, CI, like there's so many, in any sort of new area, there's always a lot of acronyms. CIAM is not one I had heard of. I'd heard of like identity providers, but I had not heard of this acronym. So learn something new every day. And so it has the typical things that you'd need from any kind of auth system. So users, that's what I'm interested in. Applications, that's going to be yeah, it's not a TLA, it's an FL. 4 letters. So I'll probably need to define application. FusionAuth has provided me with a cloud-based one. You just like something like Keycloak, you can basically go and download it and run it on your own. So they've got a bunch of different ways to download that. It's really nice to see sort of, I'm a homebrew fan, but I'm also a Docker fan because I don't like to install stuff if I don't have to. And so the Docker setup is nice. It's got a Docker Compose setup. And that takes care of everything you need with the FusionAuth itself and the database. And I guess Elasticsearch is for searching stuff. I don't know. I haven't actually looked at that. But I'm going to be using the cloud-based one just so I didn't have to set it up. Where to start, I guess, is what we want to do. So what I'd like to do, yeah, for searching for users. So what I'd like to do, and before I forget, because I've done this before, I'm going to go and create a branch. Let me just make sure I'm all pushed. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to create a branch for this. There are outgoing commits. All right, I won't worry about that. Well, no, I don't want that. So we'll call it FusionAuth. All right, good. So now I'm on a branch, and now I can sort of screw up all I want to, and I won't affect my actual production app. So I'm already in terms of, let's see where to go. There it is. In terms of the FusionAuth itself, it's already here. In terms of the setup, the admin. So I'll have to go through some setup here. So let's see. So this is for Node. But I probably want to do some of this. Oh, I think that's already set up for me. That's already set up for me. That's already set up for me. So let's create an application and configure the settings. Let's go do that. Let's set up an application. And this is pretty typical for, yeah. So luckily, Dan set up my dashboard for me, so I didn't have to go through a bunch of other steps. So here is the application, and this is just going to be Ensembler. So then there's what's next? Let me move these windows around. There we go. Yeah, I'll just use the tenant theme. So let's see. So roles. So let's add our roles. So we've got admin. That is not the default. Assuming that that's a super role. Let's see. I guess I could go right to the OAuth, but we'll add this role. I'm not sure what super role is just yet. So we want I use the name user for basically people who are authenticated but have no other powers. So we'll just add that, and then we'll have member, and that should be good enough. All right, so let's go to OAuth. And I'll have to regenerate the client secret. I guess it doesn't really matter for our purposes. User is a default role. Okay. Ah, right. Yes, thank you. What happens if you don't have a default role? What does it do? Let's see. So client ID, client secret, I'll regenerate that. Refresh tokens, debug enabled. Let's turn on the debug. So one thing I remember about hooking up OAuth to applications, some providers do this and some don't, where like I want to test this locally, so my redirect URLs are going to have local host in them. And some don't allow multiple URLs. I forget who doesn't. I think GitHub doesn't. And that's really annoying because then you have to set up two completely separate applications that are basically the same thing, just so you can have two different URLs. Yes, that's a good question. If you get assigned member, do you get to use anything else with it, or do you just, it's if you don't like, I would assume that if you got member, you wouldn't automatically get this. This just means it's the one you get if nothing is assigned. So let's see, what's our redirect URL going to be? That's a good question. because I'm going to rely on Spring to do that for me. So just looking at FusionAuth's example. So it's just relying on the standard OAuth 2, pulling in the FusionAuth Java client. And so what do they do in terms of... Yeah, so we basically want to specify... we're going to pretty much do this to configure the open ID, or basically the OAuth. So we want those, and then the user info. Okay. Well, I guess we'll find out how old it is. Well, I should be able to translate this. So we're going to have a localhost. Oh, so this is actually going to be the call out. This is the redirect. So, right. So we want the redirect URL to be whatever we want, which is going to be, it's pretty much going to be login. So we'll do... we're fine with all origins. Log out. Wait, what happened? Oh, I didn't hit enter. So our log out is pretty much going to be the same thing. I think I have the standard. Oh. Okay, I guess that one, of course, wait. Why did I lose my redirect URL? Let's try that again. So I have to say I have a dislike for UIs that do autosave. There's another product that I use where you change fields and sometimes they get saved, and there's an occasion where they don't get saved, and there's no explicit save button. Yeah, I think I did go back a page. Let's see. So enabled grants, those are fine. What's the logout behavior? That's probably fine. It looks like there's a save button up here. So I naturally expect save buttons to be in the lower right, not in the top, but whatever. Sorry, I'm gonna also be like sort of reviewing the UI. I really dislike icons for these kinds of things. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of things here, but these icons, especially this one, does not remind me of Vue. I think the UI would be much better served having actual words here instead of icons. So let's see. So that's going to be somewhere here is my client secret. Yeah, okay. So let's go and what I wonder is how the roles transfer. But let's get the let's see if we finish this. Okay, so we did this. That's our authorized work redirect. And so we'll need, well, I'll have to configure Spring for this. We can skip all the rest of that. So all that stuff is set up. So we can go ahead and register a user. We'll go ahead and register me. So I'm already in there as the admin, but I want to add a new and yeah, I want a separate user. So let's get technically that's wrong. That's not going to be mine anyway. And I don't think oh, time zone. Let's put in time zone just for the heck of it. And let's put in name. Actually, there we go. Because that's who we said it was. Okay, let's save that. Nope. Yeah, so right now I'm not using sort of self-service registration. I'm sort of manually doing that. So we're going to select Ensembler. And here we get to select the roles. So I'm going to make JitterTed a member and also a user. Actually, let's just make JitterTed a user and then we'll upgrade them to be a member. All right, so we've got user and a login. So roles, so we got all that. Oh, so this is just a marker for a super role. And in my case, I don't treat the roles that way. I basically have separate roles for each one. All right, so in terms of the Java client library, So what is the latest one? 1.38. That's way above this 1.7. So one thing I recommend to people who are documenting this kind of thing is, unless this is automatically updated, don't put in the version, because you know what people are going to do, because I do this, is they're just going to copy this and they're going to get a version that's out of date. If this is left as sort of placeholder, then it's clear that you got to look somewhere else. My preference is auto update, but sometimes the documentation tools don't make that easy. I like the click of the link to the search, so that way I can see the latest. That's much more helpful than going to the GitHub and saying, what's the latest release? Because sometimes they have releases and sometimes they don't, and sometimes they're tagged and sometimes they're not. So, but I do recommend also on the GitHub having one of the tags marked as a release. That way it shows up here as the latest one. So again, I'm going to assume that Spring is going to handle all this. So let's, we can close that. And yes, this is, what the heck is the name of it? I forgot the name of the Chrome extension. Octotree, that's what it is. Yep. Very handy. All right, so let's go back to our example. So we should just be able to pull into the POM. Yeah, this is quite old. Hopefully it'll still work. So we'll grab... So let's see. That's the Java client. We don't need that. I have a recent version of the Spring OAuth. I assume I still need the FusionAuth Java client, or is it going to, or is this completely unnecessary because it's just OAuth, which is what I would expect. So I think I don't even need any of this. Yeah. Okay. So that, yeah, that example needs to be updated. Okay. So then that's really it. So let's go then and make sure we configure this correctly. So let's go into our, let's see. So here's the GitHub OAuth stuff, and because it's one of the known providers, Spring Security sort of already knows about it, so it fills in all the rest of the stuff in terms of the URLs. We'll have to specify those specifically. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna throw that down here at the end. FusionAuth. So, if I remember correctly, it's basically this. Whatever I want, and then the client ID. That's interesting. The autocomplete uses the dash version of it. So let's check our OAuth 2. login for conf wonder if I should convert my other stuff to be the lowercase version. All right. So here are the property mappings. This is what I was looking for. So what we want is client registration. Does FusionAuth provide a configuration endpoint? Because I know I can manually do this, but there is ability to sort of auto-configure it. So let's grab the client ID, client secret, redirect URI. Let's do this way because I don't know the other way. So let's go back to our applications and grab let's grab, where is it? Oh, here it is. By the way, and this is only for those who stream, but I notice also a lot of places that have the secrets are hidden unless you click something or or have a way to copy it to clipboard without having it shown. So that would be, I know that's specific, but there's a lot of times people are sort of showing screens. And it's one of those where it's like, I don't actually care what it is, just copy it to my clipboard. Of course, wherever I paste it is, I have to be aware, but that's something that is convenient to have. So let's grab our client ID. And then we want the client secret. Let me go and see. So client secret, did I copy that? No, I didn't. And of course, we'll need to know the redirect URI. Oh, there's the well-known stuff. Got it. Let's go back to the, let's see. So we want custom provider properties. Authorization URI. Why are these not listed up there? Oh, it's the provider ones, right? So let's go grab those provider ones. I'll just grab these and replace them. So we want this has to start with client provider. I know YAML would be easier, but I don't like YAML. All right, and then let's change this to be IO. So this, so it's just OAuth 2. So there's no version number. So that's introspect, that's token, user info. These are probably all standard and authorized. Yeah, so those are all fine. Username attribute. I think that's probably something specific to the other provider. So let's go delete that. So is that all we need? Let's see. That's it. So what I'm gonna do, oh, should I add the JWK? Sure. Oops, 2 colons there. And that's gonna be, I guess this. Yeah, definitely having a clipboard button would be nice for these. I recently added that to, to my invite thing, because I have to copy and paste a link that I send by email, manually, of course. Because why automate things if you don't need to automate them? All right, so let's turn off the other OAuth, and what do we expect to happen? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's try it. RSA key signing. Is that in that application setup? Oh, into the admin UI itself. Okay. Let's see. Oh, a bunch of rotation stuff. Cool. All right. So oh, right, we didn't finish setup. So let's add an API key. I guess that's our API key. All tenants. Oh, it's an API key. Okay. So let's see, what do we want to access? Oh, okay. So then never mind. So you said, oh, Keymaster. Is this in the doc somewhere? Because I don't remember seeing this. What this? Where is this in the process? Is it part of the setup? Because I can just do it. I just want to get a sense of what am I doing. Um, yeah, if you could point to a page that at least describes what I just did, that would be nice. You were eating waffles. Did you bring enough for everybody? Uh, so is that an ID that I need somewhere or just need to generate it? Okay. So if I hadn't, because I'm actually not going to be using JWTs just yet. Yeah, so I actually didn't need that, but let's go ahead and save it. Yeah, let's see what happens without it. Because I expect something to go wrong. Because this was a lot of, I think this will work. I think this will work. So let's go. Let's go. So I stop the application. Now, the authentication route it's going to go might not work because it's specific for GitHub. So let's go into our GitHub granted authorities mapper. Let's turn this off. And then that will be fine. And then we want the welcome controller. So this might not work either, but I guess we'll see what happens. Yeah, so this this granted authorities mapper is what I was using with the GitHub authentication to look at sort of as the OAuth 2 user sort of comes by, I get to do my own mapping, and this is where I assign the attributes. But since I'm going to get those directly from FusionAuth, then I won't need this. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Ah, well, because I turned that off, the web security config couldn't find it. So let's go fix that. Ah, right. Well, I need to do something here anyway. So, I forget how to configure this. Let me go look. So this is a manual building of the bean. But I don't need the manual because we specified as properties. Let's just look at their setup for their sample. And we'll probably actually want to turn on, in addition, some logging levels. So let's do that while we're here. Let's go here. Let's turn on logging level. No, logging level. What do we want? We want org, Spring Framework, security. Yeah, the whole thing. Debug. Yeah, Dr. Twitch Easy. Yeah, I was talking about the goodbye Heroku free tier. Yeah, I'm moving over to Railway, railway.app. I think they have a tier without the credit card. I know they changed some things recently for a similar reason, because the problem is they need some way to check that you're a real person and not trying to do fraud, and so that's where the credit card comes in. I know Fly.io. Yeah, so Fly is really nice, and in fact, both Fly and Railway. I haven't used it yet, but I'm going to use it. They have a page that you explicitly basically authenticate Heroku, presumably using OAuth, and they'll basically slurp all of the configuration for an app and then set it up on that platform. Yeah, it's not like they're going to charge anything. It's not going. They just sort of need the card for an identifier. Yeah. Let's see. So what was I doing? Oh yeah, web security config. I wonder if they changed the. So that's the application itself. That's the controller. So what does the controller look like? Yeah, it's just got authentication principal. That's registration. That's provider. All right. Did they not have a security config? That's their test stuff. Okay, that's interesting. No template. That's just their template. Okay. Oh, that's what you're saying, .jwt. I don't know that I need that at all. There's token endpoint. There is no JWT. But these were all defined in... I don't think I need to do anything else. I think that's it. I think I just say, oh, I'll let you log in. Configures authentication support using OAuth 2. You must register a client with the provider. Client registrations are composed. The default configuration, login. Yeah, so I don't actually need anything because it pulls it all from the setup. If I wanted to build it manually, I would do all that stuff, but I don't need to do that. All right. Dr. Twitcheasy, is GCP a viable alternative? I don't think GCP is a viable alternative. Mainly because I don't trust Google to keep anything the same. Ever. Plus, they're going to be much more expensive. I think Railway, Fly, as I think Render was mentioned, if your stuff supports it. But I think for like Spring Boot stuff, Railway I've used already, and it's really straightforward. I have not deployed anything yet for Fly.io yet. All right, let's run the application, see what breaks. Oh, right, I forgot to take that out. That was what I forgot to do before. Let's see. Right, because it's auto-wired. I totally missed that. Okay. I don't want that. I don't want that. Try it again. Authorization URI? Oh, I forgot the provider name. Silly me. Like, I don't know what provider you're talking about. Yes, I do. All right, so this was not unexpected. So let's go figure out what am I missing here. So, client registration repository. Oh, did I not provide the grant type? Oh. I wonder if I need all this stuff. But that's for the spring. Yeah, so I need this. And that's under registration. Yeah, I agree. Let's Let's grab both of these. And so these are under registration, so... It's amazing how much of this stuff is just like copy and paste the right things. I don't think I need the profile. All right. Or maybe I do. Redirect URI. Did I drop the redirect URI? I would have thought some of this stuff was... All right, so what am I... Do I need all this other stuff? Oh, am I mixing up my equals with my dash, with my colons? That's a problem with YAML and... I forget, do the properties work with colons? Hey, look at that. All right, so at least no errors. And thank you, Howling Arctic Fox. Appreciate that. Appreciate the assist. All right. Now that's interesting that GitHub is still showing up as a login possibility. I thought I didn't have that. Oh, I wonder if I had the... You know, I bet that still works, but did I not fix those? Let's fix those. Thank you. Good eyes. I wonder why I think GitHub is config... Oh, I know why. I think I've got separate... Yeah, let's comment those out. And let's rerun it just to make sure that that didn't break anything. See, I kind of made the mistake in this stream that I've made before, which is first start with a simple app, which I should have done. But that's all right. We can always go back to a simple app instead of trying to integrate it with a non-trivial app. Aha. Let's see. Invalid redirect. Oh, so this is... I think this is wrong. I think I actually have this twice. This redirect URI, first of all, let's say localhost. Is it that I bet it's because it doesn't match. Like that, if you want the nerdy explanation. I wonder... And I don't know if, like, this, it's always interesting, like, errors in security. Oh, did Howling Arctic Fox just redeem it? It was out of stock? No, that shouldn't have been out of stock. Wow, 25 minutes. Oh, man. Oh, is the other one out of stock? No, it should be available. Huh. It's out of stock. You have enough points and it's saying you can't redeem it? That's weird. Because I don't see... I don't have any of the dark modes on pause. Well, he redeemed it. Or they redeemed it, so I'll have to do that. So one of the things I was saying is about this nerdy explanation, and it's like, how much do you reveal? How much do you reveal? Like, 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 how much do you re in errors that when it comes to security, that might not be like something that somebody could leverage and like, what's the reason for this being invalid? Is this invalid because it wasn't one of the ones that I specified in my setup, which is what I suspect, that 127.0.0.1 does not match? This should just be localhost. So let's restart. And while that's restarting, let me go check Discord. Huh. Well, so dark mode was already, I think there's a limit to the number of dark modes that can be ordered. And that's one at a time. But that's weird. I'll have to talk to the Twitch folks and find out what's going on there. All right, so that worked fine. Oh, some of the messages are dictated by the RFC. Oh, that's interesting. All right, so we restarted. Let's go back to localhost user. Oh, because that's not what I had. I had login, which is actually not what I wanted. So this is actually the correct URL that I should have in the application. Let's go switch to the right thing. OAuth. This is the wrong URL. Why did y'all even let me type that in? What it should be is this thing. Oh, weird. There's a little scrolly, like this, there's some, I don't know. This input is weird. Okay, so I think that's correct. Let's save it. Okay. Yeah, CSS. All right, let's restart. I think that's right. We want, let's go back to here. Okay, so let's log in. Hey, look at that. I'm using Brave. Which is basically Chrome, just without the Google, or without as much Google as I can stop. Now, I think this is me. Let's not keep me signed in. Oh, so it was using the JWT. All right, well, there we go. Yeah, I probably do want an incognito window. That's true. I guess when it was getting the user info, it was getting the JWT. But let's make sure, and let's try it in an incognito window or a private window. Oh, I forgot to switch to dark mode. I'll do that in a second. I'm not counting this towards the dark mode minutes. I guess that doesn't matter. Yeah, so I guess we needed that JWT thing. So that was in the application. And that was under JWT. And I think we did all that. I guess let's just save it. Let's go update the ID tokens. You have to say I'm a bit confused why it was fetching the JWT. And this again shows my lack of knowledge. Oh, I want the ID token. Right. Not the access token. That's not confusing. Okay. Okay, so now, oh, you want both? We could do the trial and error, but let's just set them both. All right, let's go back here. Hmm. So what? Let's see. Oh, is that what this ISS is? Oh. Huh. That's interesting. Spring is assuming... Gotcha. Boy, a button on the FusionAuth, like you'll get a lot of customers if you have like a one-click configure for Spring, and it just does all of this through a wizard or something, a one-time thing. Oh yeah, dark mode. Let me switch to dark mode. Let's stop the server. Let me start my dark mode timer. Yes, you're all going blind because it's bright mode. I do get it, like some of you are in time zones where it is nighttime. Let's go here, appearance, Darkula. There we go. And let's go here. That, oh, it would help if I had the thing started. Oh, and I want to set the timer. So let's go here. What are we in? 25-minute dark mode. There we go. And make sure to... Okay. I hear you, homeless. All right. So let's restart. Yeah, nice try, Tram Stars. Okay, let's go back here, and not tenants, this. Oh, let me close it and do a new one. This is what I expected. So we've got our granted authorities stuff here, but I'm pulling out specific stuff for GitHub. So this is not surprising. So hey, look at that. We got and I dumped the whole principle. So we can go ahead and grab what we want. I'm actually kind of assuming role user. Yes, this is the error we wanted. All those other errors were not wanted. So let's go. Let's see what we got. So user attributes, email verified. Preferred username as opposed to username. So I don't. Last time I looked at this stuff, there was like no standard for what these properties are, and I wish there was some kind of standard. But let's go ahead and block this. So let's go to the GitHub username principal extractor. This thing is actually used from the welcome controller. Let's go. Yeah, I could. I'm not going to. So it's looking for login, and that's why I couldn't find it. So let's go ahead and change this. No, because like it's login for GitHub. It's what is it? Like everyone is different. Everyone's different. It's like, no, just be consistent. So that's username. Is there like a not preferred username? Everyone is special. Yes. You're all special in your own way. Can grab the email. I don't think I need the email. Yep. Okay. Will I use Fusion in prod? You know, I don't know if I'll use it for this application, although I might. I'm not sure. There's some features for Ensembler that I need for dealing with multiple groups, because right now I run I run 4 weekly ensembles for 4 different groups. Well, 3 different groups. And I don't want to manage the groups. Like I'd be happy to let FusionAuth manage that for me. This branch specifically is for me to just test it and get it to work. But I could certainly see using this mainly to associate specific people with groups that I can manage from somewhere outside of my application. I don't really want to implement group stuff myself. I mean, I could do it, but I'd rather not. For what was the other application I was thinking about? Yeah, there's another application that I'm working on that this would be very handy. And again, it's like, I don't want to deal with auth. I want to offload all that to somebody else. I'm more than happy to do that. All right. So we've got our preferred username. Let's go ahead and run it. Sub for subject is standard. Scope. What if what am I get if I ask for the profile? I guess we'll find out. All right, so restarted. All right, there we go. I am logged in as user. Ah, good old 7519. I love that these are all 3-letter identifiers. Let me move this to the other window. Like, is there a reason these are 3 letters? Are they trying to save space in the JWT? I remember I was working at a large company that has a fruit in their name, and they were passing around JWTs that were so big that they were getting clobbered and causing major performance problems. Hey, Suiji. Yeah, it's like they were putting in all sorts, like every single thing. It was so, and I was like, hey, this was broken. I don't know why, and I don't know what to tell you. Oh yeah, it says so right there. Duh. Yes, so I guessed right. Representation should be compact. Because you're sending them all over the place all the time. All right, so we are welcomed. Let's sign out. This is a lie. But let's see what happens. It's going to go to member, but I'm not a member, so it redirects me to user. So that's an automatic feature I have. If I try to go to admin, it's basically going to say I'm forbidden. I don't have a good page for that because I'm the only admin. Yeah, it's clear I did not set up logout because it still knows who I am. But let's... Should we do logout, or should I add more authorities? Not authorities. Roles to me. Let's close that. Yeah, close all. And let's go. It's my show. Well, I wasn't just asking you, Dan. I was actually asking everybody. But I've already decided. I'm gonna go into the users. So let's go. Let's go. Let's go make this one. No, actually. Yeah, well, I don't never log out. Well, it's funny because like I actually never want to log out of that application. Like, why would I want to? Other than when I'm testing it, in which case that's when I use the private window. But yeah, I don't want to log out. Yeah, that's right. It's not verifying it through email. So let's go ahead and create another user. Oh, here's the button. I'm going to say it again for emphasis. Like, this is not obvious where it should be. So if I let's not do that. So does it, you know, I really dislike Remember Me because it seems like on every site that I care about, it never remembers me. There's this one app that that I use to monitor the laundry machines to see when they're available, and it always has the checkbox for Remember Me, and it never ever remembers me, even if it's like an hour later. Like, then just don't put the checkbox there. Hey there, Lord Caffeine. Any websites for ideas or Java projects? I have a whole, you know, that reminds me, I have a draft of an article on pretty much that topic that I really should publish. I generally recommend people define it for themselves. Like, what do you what do you want? Or if you're looking for topics, then there's these exercises, or sometimes called katas, K-A-T-A, where there are all sorts of different applications. Like one I'm working on that I'll get back to probably this week or next week is the supermarket checkout pricer. And it's just like, you know, think of features, add them, think like discounts and stuff like that. But if you want some more concrete things, go ahead and join the Discord. My Discord, and feel free to ask. And if nobody else, I will certainly supply you with some ideas. What was I going to do? Oh, I was going to add another user. For the login page, does it always require an email, or does it also allow username? I assumed it was email because that was what it was asking for. Password. I'll go and generate one. Boy, I'm gonna have a bunch of bogus passwords that I'm gonna have to erase. This is full name. Languages. What's languages for? Oh, that's probably for the form display. It's nice that it has time zone, because that's something I use in my application. Henso, hi. Most modern way to create a desktop GUI with Java. You can do it with Swing too, but Java FX is pretty much the way most people start out these days. I do have on my list of things to work on stream is to create a desktop app version of the supermarket checkout pricer that I've been working on. So I basically have another UI. But yeah, Java FX is it. I dread doing it because like there's a certain amount of just getting the project off the ground that is just so painful. Let's see. Let's do first name. I'm in the middle of rewatching The Simpsons, and so there's the episode where Homer goes on a search for what is his middle name because all he knows about is the letter J, and it turns out it's actually the entire name J. So there, I've just ruined that episode for you. So it's interesting that this says username, but in the payload it's preferred username. Yes, Luigi, he does have, actually he not only has a Kotlin Tornado FX bootstrap project, but actually he's been working on a Java FX one. I think he has one that works pretty well. Oh, is this part of, oh really? That's part of the OIDC spec? All right, there you go. Preferred username. What will those RFC or spec writers think of? Is that everything I want? I think so. Let's go add a registration. So, so there's two usernames. So there's the username. There's the username for the user, and then there's the username for the application. That one looks a little bit outdated, although he may not have updated it, Suichi. I could always ask him. So is this username then? Which one am I gonna get when I've logged in? I guess I get this username when I log into the app, and not the one that's associated with. This is like fractal, like nested usernames. All right, so let's call this one Homer J, or I guess Homer S. Homer's. Time zone will skip. So we said we wanted this one to be a member. And user. All right. So actually I should just be able to go. Where'd it go? Oh, I closed it. Right. Did I stop the application? I stopped the application. All right. So that's running. So let's go ahead and log in. We don't want that one. We want this one. Now here, this again was expected because when I had the GitHub version, I was specifically looking up in my own database, but now I actually want to get the roles from FusionAuth. So let's see, principal, that's a name. Oh, I only asked for OpenID. So that's the only one I got. Yeah, so the role user is automatically added by my I think it's the one that's automatically added just by merely being authenticated. So now I have to remember, I think I want an additional scope. That's the word I was looking for, I think. So let's close that. And this is where it gets to, that's authentication tokens, login methods. Yeah, so I guess what do I need to ask for additional scope, or does it, because I don't actually know what the OpenID scope gives me. So I've got the OpenID scope here. The question is, how do I get the roles that were assigned? Because the granted ones are the default ones. But here I'm showing my ignorance of the OIDC stuff. Let's see. So we've got the principal. The username is Homer J for FusionAuth. The username in the context, this is what I was joking about before, or laughing at before. The user, the username in the context of this application, though, is I'm a member, right? So if we look at, and this is where, right, you can really, like, so you can have a user in FusionAuth, but yeah, that's true. It's like I would have expected in the context of Ensembler to have this username show up. So that's an interesting thought, Transtars. So that's that. Yeah, so this is the username inside. Yeah, I'm confused why I would have gotten I'm a member, actually. Oh, so this is only for display purpose? That's interesting. Oh, it's tied to the user, not to registration. Got it. So then, right. So now I got to retrieve the registration stuff. And so this is, this is where I think I'd have to look to Spring to see what, let me see. So this mapper is not used. But let me actually turn it on, because maybe there's something in my code that's messing with this. So let's set a breakpoint here. Let's debug this. All right. And did I close the window? Let's open up a new private window. And we want this one. Right. Darn it, I should have set the breakpoint here. Let's redo that. try it again. Yeah, so these are the ones I get in. Yeah, so this ah. So I'm doing it the hard way because that was the need I had for the incorporating with GitHub. So let's turn that off. Turns out there was an additional parameter needed for the web security config. Apparently it's with defaults. So so the docs that Dan provided here. So this is the hard way. This is the somewhat easier way. But I still need to have this user authorities mapper. So what does this do? If the authority is an OIDC user authority, then it pulls out the token. So user attributes. Yeah, so that's what I want. So let's throw this in here. And it'll basically iterate through all of them. So let's go grab this. This is one of those things that almost feels like it should be boilerplate. So let's go and add that being here. Really? Why is that a redundant call? Oh, right. That's right. We're in Java modern land. We can just use instance of, and then we actually don't need to oh yeah, I don't take advantage of this very much because I don't generally work with inheritance hierarchies, but wow, so much better. So let's set a breakpoint here and here. Let's make this public, and we'll make it a bean. So Spring will find it. Cool. All right. Let's try again. I didn't import them at all. So when you have auto import on the fly, so if you have this, add unambiguous imports on the fly, and this is important, you configure exclude from auto import all the crap that is in various parts of the JDK and various other libraries, then it will automatically import without you having to manually select each one. There's about 5% of the time where it's annoying, where it keeps fighting you, but the other 95% of the time saves so much time. Eventually, I'm going to put all these tips together in a becoming an expert IntelliJ developer, but not yet. Okay, so what happened here? Let's close this. There's all these little settings in IntelliJ that I'm like, this should totally be standard. Where do I press now? If I provide only user info endpoint, did I define the user info endpoint? I thought I did. Yeah, I've got the user info endpoint. So hopefully it goes and grabs that. All right, so there's that. Hmm. I already went past that. That was not good of me. Let's actually stop here. Really? Remove the JSON web key set thing? Sounds like you know more than I do. Where do I press now? What will that do? And yeah, I'll stop on the ID token. Oh, if I don't want local introspection. This is why my head hurts after doing this stuff. There's, you know, like any area, like security is its own area of expertise, and there's so much I've forgotten because I just don't do it very much. Oh, why did I have a debug there? Let's close this and try it again. All right, and login is this one. Yeah, okay, so I need that, turns out. So let's restart. Yeah, I would have thought it would hit this endpoint to get that information, but it's clear it needed this, otherwise it had an error. Unless there's something else I'm missing. Let's close this. So my config is incomplete. What am I missing? Missing user info authentication? Is that another? I mean, I've got the 4 that they use for other providers. So if you have a if it's a config that I'm missing, let me know what that is. Otherwise, I'm gonna restart and relog in. So, so this user has both member and user roles. So we should be seeing somewhere those roles, which we then map to granted authorities, which can be in the form of a role. Okay, so we are logging in. So the authorities I get are these two. So here's the ID token. And it's got a bunch of claims. Yeah, I don't see roles either. So that's in the OIDC user authority that I would expect to see it. Yep, and that's that. Because this one is just a role. And I think Spring automatically creates that one. Well, Tramstars, I'm assuming that Spring has already done that, and that's what these attributes are. But I'm certainly happy to grab the JWT. But I'm gonna see what Dan is talking about. Oh, let's go ahead and actually stop. Okay. So what we want is lambdas. Right, so if I wanted to manually retrieve it, I could go here, but the idea is to not do that. So let's go to our customizations, lambdas. Hey, Dota Attitude! Wow, one whole year. Thank you so much for the resub. Do. So what does this do? So this is the default OpenID Connect. Blah, 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 blah. So here's where it copies that information. So let's create a new one. So many types. Is it an OpenID connect reconcile or client credentials JWT populate? Okay. I assume I'll leave that there. So let's go delete that. So, I see. So registration, JWT's, wait. Oh, just JWT, that's not confusing. That's interesting. Didn't I select this? Did it not? Does it not change this after? Looks like once I've modified this, it doesn't change the, yeah. Let's start over. So, add. And we want just JWT populate. There we go. There's the registration. That's what we're looking for. So what do we want? We want to say, what? JWT something. Roles. You may add or modify anything in the JWT object. However, you may not modify the header keys or values of the JWT. So it says prior to the version 114, the following claims were reserved. Does that mean they're no longer reserved? Because yeah, that's what it looks like I'd want is that. Okay. That should be more clear, because to me, I could read this as the other way around. All right. So JWT.roles equals registration.roles. I guess it wants semicolons. Okay. I'm used to doing JavaScript without semicolons these days. So I guess that's it. Oh, I need to give it a name. So application, and then there was Lambda settings, ID token. There it is. So to attitude, populate is called after someone registers. No, so the idea is populate. Yeah, it is neat functionality. My assumption is that it calls that Lambda when on the fly. Does it call it on the fly, or is, I would assume it calls it on the fly. All right, I'm assuming that's it. Yeah, so it does it on the fly during the authentication when it's creating the JWT. That totally makes sense. That it really is neat. It's like the escape hatch that you always want. Oh, look, dark mode is open. Nobody warned me. Suspicious. All right, so let's restart. And let's go open up. I should learn the shortcut for this. Shift Command N. There we go. I'll let dark mode go a little longer. All right. So we've got two. Hey, look at that. There they are. Member and user. Voila. So now I need to write mappings for these. I can do that. I know how to write mappings. Or I could just change. Yeah, I'll map them. So what we're going to do is actually I'm just going to copy this one. So all I need to do is out of these things, I need to convert them to a simple granted authority. So let's do that. Let's close you. And why are you still open? So many tabs open. Let's close some of these. And close that. And close that. Okay. Yep. So when you're creating, oh, I guess I should just stop this. So when you're creating these lambdas, where do they go? Customizations, lambdas. So when you're creating these customizations, lambdas, no, I didn't want to duplicate. So I could basically emulate GitHub in terms of what I expect, right? Because I can just assign it. Presumably, I could, as long as it's not a reserved as long as I'm not using something reserved, I can do whatever I want. Is that correct? Like I could add foo, or I could add whatever. That's pretty neat. That would be really nice. All right, but right now, let's go. What was I doing? Oh yeah, I was writing the code. How quickly I forget. So what we want to do is, so we've got our mapped authorities, and what we want to do is so the user CRUD. Let's set our breakpoint here because I forgot what they look like. And yes, I do want the ID token. So I think that's right. Those are going to be strings. I don't know why it did final. Yes, let's cast. And then we want to do rules stream. Oh, it's not a. It's actually not that. It's actually. Actually, I don't know what type it is. Is it a list? Let's see. I assume it's a list. Oh. We want this one. Yeah, so what is this? Oh, it's a JSON array. Sure, I never would have guessed that. But of course, that totally makes sense. So I can't stream on that, can I? I can get values. What? Oh, because it didn't... Is that not the right JSON array? Hold on. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Ah. Okay. Oh, geez. I suppose I could just var it and let it figure it out. So let's do var. Will that work? So let's do var roles equals. Oh, but it's going to just treat as an object, isn't it? Yeah, that's a good point. Does it implement something something better than some shaded well, let's do this. Let's yeah. Oh, it implements list. Why didn't you just say so? All right, so then this is a list. The list of, can I say list of string? It's a list of object, technically. I guess I could always... Can I cast that? And then roles, stream, map. So I'm gonna get the role. This is the horrible way to do this, by the way. I would not do this in production. What did we want? Member. New simple granted authority. This is the string, so this is role member. Oh, actually, I can do this even simpler. What am I doing? I can basically just do return new simple granted authority. And then it's basically role to uppercase, and then I want that prefixed with role. Oops, you want that. And then I don't need the return. Just an expression lambda. And then this is to collect, wait. What am I missing here? That's what I'm missing. And then I want to set and let's assign that to a variable. Actually, this is mapped authorities. Authorities? Yeah, I know it's going to conflict. All right, let's format this a little nicer. This is spike code. I'm allowed to do this. So we want not to we don't want this final, and we just want to assign it. That's what we want. Oh, actually, I can't. Ugh. So for each mapped authorities, add. Can I do that? No. I always forget how to do that. That's what. Why did I not type 2 colons? All right, so so what we're doing is we are. I can take that off and put that here. So what we're doing is we're getting the roles claims. They come in as strings with title case for the names. So I'm just converting them to uppercase because it's user and member. And then prefixing role underscore because these are roles. And then for each one that I've mapped in that way, I'm adding it to the mapped authorities. Yeah, totally. We can totally inline the roles. Let's do it. There we go. This cast is sort of annoying, but hey, 3 lines. As I said, actually, I might write this as production code, but I'd be test driving it. All right. Let's restart. Actually, let's put a breakpoint here. Oh, right. Since I could just do but oh, you mean up here? But not all authorities are going to be this one. That's why. But yeah. I mean, I wonder what is in the user info is null. So I probably don't need the user info. The token is probably enough. But anyway. All right, let's restart. And let's close this page, open a new one. Let's grab you. Mapped authorities. Hey, look at that. All right, so that should be fine. Now here's where the other expected place where I'd expect it to break is in my member service. I'm expecting a GitHub username. So let's go fix that. But we've got the authorities mapped properly, otherwise we wouldn't run into that. So what we want is... yeah, so technically we can... what is it going to do? What was it about to do? It was about to show ensembles for that user. And so one thing that's interesting about this process is it's showing me where I've been too tightly coupled to GitHub, which is great for when you're starting out, but eventually I'd want to have a much clearer separation so that if I do add in different auth for different reasons, I don't run into these issues. So I think we only do this to basically just grab their name. That's all this is for. But I think I can actually get that because here's... oh, I actually do need a member. So what do I have in the database that other than their ID? So let's go back here. Let's escape out of this. Let's go back to our users. So let's what do I have in the database? So it's pulling the username out of the authentication, but I don't have that in my database. So let's go add one. Now here's where there'd be redundancy. So this is an interesting question. I'd probably still want a member object. It's just I would not need to store the roles. But I still want to associate them with a GitHub username because there are reasons why I have a GitHub, because it's connected to GitHub repositories. So I'd probably, instead of having roles, I would basically have the map. So their primary username would be the username I would get from FusionAuth. And then I would have a map to the GitHub username for when I needed to talk to GitHub. So for now, I'm going to sort of cheat. So that's this one. Now the roles are going to be ignored because these roles are local, but I'm no longer using them because I'm now looking to FusionAuth for that. Dota to attitude, you said something about another option besides Open Connect ID. That's better. Tell us more. All right, so let's go localhost, member, register. We want this one. Those are our mapped authorities. And hey, look, we are a member. Hallelujah. Why are there no ensembles? I must have wiped the database. Bam. So, again, this is sort of where if I went and used FusionAuth as my authorization provider, I'd need to make sure that the roles are sort of normalized, but then I could drop the roles from my database, and then have a mapping from authentication username to basically, honestly, I would just basically replace this column with the authentication, the authenticated username. And then everything else stays the same. And I wouldn't even have to store the email because I could get that. It'd be handy though to have that in a database because they might want a different email. But yeah, so there we go. Yeah, I'm sure Dan knows all the RFCs involved. Do I want my data denormalized? Yeah, I mean, there's sort of like, what data do I want? What data would I want in the application that sort of it owns versus what data do I want to store in FusionAuth? So I still would want the GitHub username because I need that. The first name though, all the name stuff I could get because I've always got the principal. I don't know, it's like I certainly could store the GitHub username, but I need to auth against GitHub anyway to get access to. Do I need OAuth access? Not yet. At some point I might, because I might need access to somebody's own repository. It would be handy to not have to store the time zone and just grab that from FusionAuth. Can I use Fusion to talk to GitHub? No, I mean, I don't know that makes any sense. The reason why I'd want to talk to GitHub is, for example, in the ensemble, if you were an ensemble host, I would need to, I could give you access, but then you'd need to go confirm it. Yeah, I mean, they got to log into now I'm really curious about that. Because that's not quite what I was thinking. But let's see. So this would be interesting. So I'd have to create another app. And another, right. Right, and then I'd copy the GitHub using the Lambda, which, boy, that's really handy. Copy the login to the username. So that would actually be really interesting to do. Because then I would just not have to worry about, if I wanted to add another provider, I wouldn't have to add it to my code. Yeah, that might be a part 2 stream. Because that would be interesting. Yes, exactly, Tram Stars. Well said. Fusion would be my security adapter, which would be kind of nice, because then I could offload the manual mapping stuff that I do currently. Because I actually don't. There may be some cases where the admin I need the OAuth for admin stuff. Like if I want my application, Ensembler basically will, this is a future feature that it's going to do, is when you sign up for an ensemble, each ensemble has a GitHub repo. And so what it needs to make sure is that if you haven't already been added as a collaborator, because you need push access, so I need to add you as a collaborator. Right now I do that manually, which is fine because I add 1 or 2 people a month. But if I automate that, that's really OAuth for me personally, because I own the repo, unless somebody else hosts it. In which case I would still need the auth there. But for 98% of the users, I could just use FusionAuth. And then if you want to go and store your credentials there, that's fine. If you want to use GitHub, that's fine. It probably could add all the other adapters for Twitter and so on. That would be really nice. But yeah, definitely not going to go down that road this stream. Right, and once you're there, then I could add all of them. Right? Yes. Although I don't know if I want to support Google. But sure, why not? They've got Twitch, they've got Steam. I don't see Discord though. I mean, oh, there's Discord. Yeah, I mean, Discord's just another OAuth. It should be, yeah. I guess once you could offer a whole bunch. No Xbox. There's Xbox right there. This is a weird alphabetical order. It's like this one, because these have icons, but it's alphabetical. So SAML doesn't have no icons for SAML. Yeah, Xbox is down here. Y'all need to add an icon to like some of these to line it up. No one likes SAML. That's right. No icons for you. Yeah, I mean, I guess it literally is like an adapter for all the other ones. So I can use Hyper. What is Hyper? Why do I feel like I know that? Hyper. I don't think I've heard of Hyper. Okay. So I remember this question going by up earlier in the chat about Fido or Fido. I don't know how you pronounce it, whether it's a long I or short I. Fido. Then there's all the current new stuff. What is it? Passkeys? There's so much going on that I have no idea about. But Apple would, if you provide the Apple, would you get the passkeys? I don't know. I'll let Dan answer that. Oh, cool. Let's go. Yes, that's exactly how I imagined it. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, the nice thing about Spring Security OAuth is it makes connecting to these easy, but there's still like not having to modify my code and redeploy to add a provider would be nice. Oh, so the WebAuthn and Fido stuff is coming real soon now. Great, that's awesome. Yeah, that was one nice thing when I was at that fruit company. We had the little adapters you'd plug into your laptop. And of course, we weren't supposed to carry around our laptops with that in there. But of course we did. And so that was really kind of nice. Dan, is there anything else I should look at that you want me to call out? Because otherwise, I think we're at time. Oh, I got to do the giveaway. Oh my gosh, totally forgot about that. All right, so what you get for the giveaway, there are 2 items. You get the Modern Guide to OAuth, which explains all the stuff that I was, some of the concepts I was struggling with. I actually read through part of it. So we're going to give away a free copy of that, and a free t-shirt. So you can get the t-shirt if you sign up somewhere. Where to go? Let's go here. So if you download and install FusionAuth yourself and you're in the United States and Canada, you can get the shirt. But I know a lot of you are not in the United States and Canada, so the shirt that I'm giving away will be sent anywhere. And yeah, use that link so I get credit. And the way I'm going to do the giveaway is I am going to have you just guess a number. I'm going to write it down so that way I'm not accused of cheating. So if you want one of the 2 items, if you have I'll give you a preference. I'll pick 2 numbers. So what I'd like you to do is in chat, pick a number between 1 and 20, and then just type it into chat. So while you're if you want the shirt or the book, and the first one who hits the number will get their first choice. Tramp Stars, I think it's a bad idea to roll your own money class period. Just use Joda Money. It's so easy to use. I use it in what do I use it in? I use it in my portfolio application, Tawny. It's just, it's Joda. It's Stephen Colburn's stuff. The guy behind JSR 310, the date time stuff. So just use Joda Money. Like, just don't roll it yourself. Now 1 number per person. Hold on. So MVD Dev got one of the numbers correct. Number 1. So MVD Dev, you get to choose whether do you want the shirt or the book? Shirt or book? That's the book. That's the shirt. And Tramstar is also 1. So those are the numbers I wrote. 15 and 1. So MVD Dev, you get the book. So Tramstars, you get the t-shirt. You know how to contact me on the Discord. Send me a private message and I'll forward that information over to Dan over at FusionAuth. If you want the book anyway, there's also a coupon, the LeanPub monthly sale, so you can always get that as well. So yeah, so MVD Dev, make sure to, so MVD Dev, you wanted the book, so just give me, send me your email, or you can whisper it directly to Dan Fusion. That's fine. And Tramstars, make sure to provide your shirt. So the winner is, wins the book, and Tramstars wins the shirt. So congratulations, folks. And that's it. That's all for today. Let me switch. We're going to end soon anyway, so. So thanks to Dan for hanging out and providing support while I struggle with some of the stuff. It was nice to finally get that working, and I now have some of this information about authentication has been reloaded into my memory, but it will be lost probably soon if I don't use it again soon. So if this was interesting and useful and you want to see more about this stuff, let me know in the Discord as always. Otherwise, my next stream, when am I doing my next stream? Not tomorrow, possibly Thursday. So Thursday is probably going to be the next stream if I'm going to do it this week. And I'll probably get back to either there's some stuff on Ensembler I want to work on, not all stuff, or I'll finish up the supermarket checkout pricer stuff. So thanks everyone, and I will see you next time. Have a good rest of your day, and if it's nighttime, then have a good evening. Bye.